Hey everyone, Vincenzo Calla here with VCalla Productions, and today I'm sitting here with the Ottawa City Councillor for Ward 16 River, Riley Brockington. Thanks, Riley, for joining me today, and welcome to Top 10.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
Well, it's so great to have you, and note to the audience, as always, to make sure to stay updated with me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, VC Productions 25, my website, vincenzocalla.com, and like, subscribe, and get notifications here on YouTube. So without further ado, let's get into these questions. So first off, question that I always start off with is, what is your favorite color?
Well, I think I have a number, but I call it a burnt orange. I really like a dark orange. Certainly, I love autumn and all the colors that autumn produce as well, but uh, a really dark orange for me is an outstanding color.
That used to be the color of my room at my old house, and I
Oh,
really enjoyed that color. So it's a nice color, and yeah, it reminds one of pumpkin spice, and I
yes.
like pumpkin spice in the fall. Question two is, what is your favorite book?
Wow, this is great. I have to admit to your audience, I'm not a big reader of novels. I love history, biographies, magazines. I'm an avid traveler, and I love to, get magazines from the library and read about different destinations. But certainly the classics that we read in school, like The Great Gatsby, Kill a Mockingbird, certainly left impression on me, and the different literature that we read. I've read um, other stuff as well, but for me, like my passion is learning about others. So biographies are very important. History as well, whether it be World War I or World War II, particularly the Canadian contributions, those wars. But like I said, I love travel. Anything related to travel, anywhere in the world, any country, I will read about it because I love learning about other places.
Well, we'll talk about travel in one of the other questions later, but before we do that, let's talk about movies. What's your favorite movie?
Oh gosh. Um, I love movies, certainly all different genres. The genres. There's only one movie where I left the movie theater and I said to myself, that movie is going to win an Academy Award for Best Picture. And that movie was The English Patient. So I've seen a number of movies. The English Patient came out at least 20 years ago. I thought it was fantastic, written by a Canadian. Fantastic movie. I've not seen it in a while, but if anyone hasn't seen it, see The English Patient, see what you think. But for me, that is definitely one of my top
So, similarly now, what's your favorite TV show?
favorites. Well, currently, I'm certainly into the series Ted Lasso. I think that's a great show. Um, there's some British shows that I'm watching as well, but historically, growing up, there's a comedy called Three's Company that John Ritter was in that I thought was fantastic. Joyce DeWitt and Suzanne Summers. And more recently, but a few years ago, I was really into a series called Lost on ABC. I thought that was a fantastically written, particularly the first few years of a show. But I'm really open to anything. That now, when I come home at night and it's late, I'll put on a cooking show. I like seeing Chopped or other competitive cooking shows. But again, open to a lot of different types as well.
Well, Ted Lasso has been a favorite of many of the guests that have joined me on Top 10, and something that I haven't watched yet, but more and more guests keep telling me about it, so I'm gonna have to go watch it. And Three's Company's a classic. I'm a young person. Everybody's surprised when I say I know that show, but I
Oh
do.
no, it's fantastic. I can still I've seen it on reruns lately, and I can still mouth the words. I've seen so many episodes so many times, and it's just stuck in my head. But what a slapstick type of comedy that they pulled off so well. It really is fantastic to watch.
So we're gonna go on to the next question now, which is, what is your favorite meal?
That's hard. Credit to my mom who exposed me to different types of foods growing up, not just what I'll call quote unquote Canadian food, but other different meals. I'm fond of Asian food, whether it be Cantonese or Szechuan or Thai, Vietnamese. Yeah. I like how it's prepared. I like how it's presented. Obviously, I like how it tastes. And I'm not overly fond of, the syrupy sweet. I like authentic. I like all types of cuisine, but the Asian food had to pick always gets me ordering from there. I just think it's really good.
Question 6 now, pairing with that is what is your favorite type of dessert?
There is a treat I had not that often as a kid, and I think it's made by Baskin Robbins, but there's a cake called a mud pie, and it's a frozen ice cream pie, and it's got like a graham cracker bottom and a sort of a mocha flavored ice cream in the middle, and it's got a chocolate glaze and crushed nuts and some whipped cream, and wow, that's good. Now, I haven't had that in 20 years. So if I want something quick, baklava to me is like heaven, a well-made baklava. Obviously, there are different types depending on the country. But that to me is probably, I have more recently or more frequently than lead pie, which has been since my childhood. But baklava, top of the list.
Question 7 now is what is your favorite hobby?
Well, and one thing I don't do enough of as a current city councillor is make time for personal, affairs. Racket sports as a kid. I love badminton and tennis. I was a child actor growing up, so my love for the stage. I do a little bit of directing now, some producing church stuff, but as a kid on the stage a lot. And that really is my passion. When I get on a stage now, the smells and the sights and sounds take me back. Um, and haven't really pursued this recently, but I really like coin collecting, looking at very rare and older coins, studying the history of that. I don't have a big collection. There's nothing under my bed or any vault, but certainly studying currency. My background's economics, so there's connection to money and banking, but I have a few coins that I've collected over the years as well.
So, on travel now, we talked a bit about travel before. What's a vacation that you haven't taken before that you always wanted to take?
Yeah, that's great. There are many countries I've been to, obviously many that I have not yet had the pleasure to visit. I would say Egypt is on the top of my list. I would be sad if at the end of my life I have not been to Egypt, and that's maybe something in the next 2 to 5 years I'll get to. I just think obviously the history, the past and present, great to study. Um, Someplace I want to see as well, not just Cairo. I want to see Alexandria. I want to go down the Nile and see what that has to offer as well. But I think that would be a great country to visit.
Question 9 now is what is something that you have always wanted to do?
What I've always wanted to do. Boy, there's many things in that regard. I've flirted with whether or not I wanted to get my, private pilot's license to take the courses to learn to fly a Cessna. Uh, Parachuting, I both have an extreme fear of, but also it keeps drawing me to, is that something I want to do at some point? But I think learning to fly, if I had the time, and take that course. And it's funny because my ward borders on the Ottawa Flying Club, so it's very close. But that's something that I think would be interesting and would allow me to do some traveling, not across the continent, but it could get to some smaller cities in Eastern Ontario or Quebec. And that might be something I pursue when I have more time.
And finally, the question I always like to end on is what is one piece of life advice that you want to give?
Yeah, I would say if I was advising a younger me or the younger generation is don't hesitate to try things. For me, I was perhaps too risk adverse and just wanting, stability at all costs. When it's okay to try stuff, it's okay to try stuff and fail and learn from that and be better going forward. But there's so much to do in a life of 85, 90 years. Don't hesitate to explore what there is, to try different jobs, to try different languages, to travel. to take stuff on and learn from it and make you better. Because ultimately, that's what life is about. Wouldn't it be great to be able to pass on your knowledge and intelligence and wisdom to the next you in the next, next life? So you start life with all of that instead of having to spend a whole lifetime of learning that. But life is that journey of learning, and really we learn by trying stuff, seeing what works and what doesn't work and what we like and what we don't like. So don't hesitate to try stuff through life.
That's all for today. Thanks, Riley, for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, it was so great having you, and make sure to go check out our other interview for Let's Discuss Politics here on YouTube. So Top 10 is a VCalla production. So until the next video, I'm Vincenzo Calla, signing out.